Hey everybody, my next guest has been on the comedy scene for over 25 years, and you may have seen him on his many appearances with Conan O'Brien and David Letterman, as well as his special, Cheer Up, which is available now on Amazon Prime. And he will be here tonight, September 9th, and tomorrow, September 10th, at Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, Long Island. And here he is, folks, the very funny Nick Griffin. Nick, how's it going, bud?
It's good to be here. Thanks. Everything's going pretty well, you know. I had a slow summer. Didn't take as many dates, but now I'm trying to just book up everything possible till the end of the year.
Yeah, it's good to get some time off in between, I would think, right? I mean, just grinding all the time.
Yeah. I gotta, I've been doing it for so long and done so many weeks for so long that it is nice to have a little downtime just to kind of recharge my batteries and figure out exactly what it is I want to talk about next. I'm always doing sets in the city, but I just didn't I didn't go on the road as much. But yeah, you're right. It is nice to have downtime.
When you take a lot of downtime, when do you feel the urge? When do the urges start to come to get back into it? Because like I take downtime from my job. I edit. I'm an editor, and when I take downtime, all of a sudden these weird urges start happening a couple of weeks in where I want to work. It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm not great at doing nothing. And you're as a stand-up, you just want to always stay sharp. So I would say, gosh, 36 hours for me, and I start to really get nervous about doing. I know it sounds funny, but I can't go more than 3 days without doing stand-up. For me, and of course I have, but I don't like to. And, you always feel like wherever you are, you could get just a little bit better. And so you think that's probably going to happen tomorrow. So if you don't do stand-up tomorrow, you might not get there. So that's always been my philosophy.
Yeah, it's like working out. Right, like
exactly.
Like if you feel like again, I haven't, I'm not an avid. I got to get it back into it, but if you stop working out, it's harder to get back into it again, or you start to lose your tone, or you gain weight back. So you got to always kind of stay sharp, no matter what it is.
Absolutely, and then when you take more time off, it's harder to go back, and you feel more nervous about going back, and then you got to do a couple sets to get you back up to speed. And so it's best just to not take too much time off, but probably more now than I've ever taken off. Yeah.
Are you the kind of guy who, if you do go on vacation, like let's say you go somewhere, wherever, another state, another country, that you start to look for where the club is and where's the can I get a spot?
Yeah, no, I'm even worse. I look up ahead of time to see and make a few calls. And I have a girlfriend. She's probably not thrilled that I'm running off in between dinner and dessert to do a 7-minute set in Miami. But yeah, I do that. And it's not good. It's a sickness, and I need help. And before the band starts, they're always like, "Are you ready to rock?" Yes. We are ready to rock. We paid for parking. We bought a ticket. I don't know how to prove to you I'm ready to rock.
Well, you've been doing it for a long time, man, and I've seen you through the years, and I always loved your comedy. And now, like, just watching, your new stuff, like, from the Cheer Up special and things I'm seeing you posting lately on like Instagram and stuff. I feel like you've kind of grown into some of the material, like that has fits you better. I don't know what it is, or how I could say it, but I just feel like you're representing every man, who, you know what I mean, in a way, with this kind of disgruntled vibe, like like waiting at the rock show, all these kind of things. And I think, like, do you feel like your material stands stronger as you actually get older, or how do you feel about
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think that cynicism doesn't look great on a 26-year-old or even a 32-year-old, particularly, like, oh, I'm so world weary, and you don't know anything yet. And then you go through a few divorces or whatever, and some disappointments and some career setbacks, and you get some gray hair, and it does play better, I think. But I hopefully, I've always tried to just be as honest as I can, as my brain lets me be. And but I do think some of this kind of pessimism looks better on someone my age.
Had lunch by myself in my apartment. Had a can of soup. That's the right response.
Yeah, it definitely works great, and I think, and I think it's the type of vibe that everybody, regardless of age or if the male, female, whatever, I think you could relate to a lot of the kind of the gripes that you have, and just the way you're seeing the world, and
Yeah.
what's great too is you're touching on a lot of stuff that we all could relate to, and without going into politics or political, which in this day and age might be harder not to. Is it a conscious effort to avoid it, or is it just natural?
I think from a young age and on, I just haven't really had a good grasp of politics and the ins and outs, and even the inner workings of the government, and how I just kind of, it never interested me. I'm not a guy who wakes up and reads the New York Times. I read the Post and the sports page, and some monster magazines, and that's about it. So it isn't too hard for me, because I've always tried to, and I'm sure I did this more when I was younger, but I don't want to look like I am trying to understand something that's bigger than me. So yeah, I stay away from the politics.
No, I think it's great, and I think it's definitely
And it's
refreshing.
not consciously, like I said, it's just a matter of me not, it's like me staying away from physics. I don't know anything about it.
That's a great way to say it. Like, yeah, why talk about it if you don't understand it, right? Yeah.
Right.
But but you also have the Scary Monsters podcast with Laurie Palmentary, and you've been doing that. Was that something that was conceived through the pandemic, or is that something you've been doing for before then?
I
Like,
think we did it a little bit before that. Everyone was doing podcasts, and of course, it's a great thing to do. I just never, go back to what we were talking about earlier. I just don't know much about many things, and I tend to get wrapped up in my comedy, and so I'll have all these horror movies that I want to see, and I don't do it. So anyway, we did it to make ourselves watch more horror movies just for our own pleasure, and then talk about it on the podcast. And Laura's a friend of mine, and she's worked with me a lot, and a very funny comic. And yeah, it was just a way to get to see more horror movies and have a fun way to talk about it. And a way to do a podcast without it being, I know there's probably 1,000 horror movie podcasts, but for our group, for our kind of comedy world, it's pretty rare.
yeah, I would think as far as the comedy led podcasts, it's the only one that I know about. And I also think it's cool that you're into horror movies. It's something that you would never assume with seeing your stuff. So that's great. And here we are getting close to Halloween time. We're already seeing all the Halloween. Is this a great time of year for you when October hits, or when September hits and it's coming? You're like, oh yeah.
I think it's sort of like New Year's Eve for drunks. I've already been binging during July and August and May, so it's amateur hour for a lot of people. But I do like, occasionally I'll go out to a like a fright fest at a park or something, or a haunted house. I do usually do one haunted house a year, and so that stuff's fun. I grew up with an older brother who is probably, I think he's 4 years older than me, and he got me hooked on horror movies. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It got in my blood when I was a kid. We'd watch horror movies every Friday and Saturday, and it just stuck, and I still got it.
Dude, I like horror movies, but I can't, the evil ones. Like when I was a kid, so I'm assuming you and I may be close to the same age. I might be older than you.
You're
I'm
a
not.
little younger.
I'm set 1971. born?
Yeah,
Sort of.
yeah. I'm older than that.
Okay, all right. But I grew up. My cousin, I had an older cousin who, and he had one of the first people with a VCR, so he was able to constantly watch and rewind scenes from The Exorcist and scare the shit out of me. So that movie, to this day, I can't watch The Exorcist. Where does that movie stand on your?
It's number one. I mean, I mean, you can ask me on another day and I'll tell you Halloween, but basically those two are at the top. Exorcist, especially for me, because I grew up Catholic and all that, crucifix stuff and the chants and the prayers, all that stuff is really
Terrifying.
makes sense to me. Yeah,
That
it's right.
stuff, yeah, that stuff terrible like that, and then Damon, the Omen.
Yeah, sure,
Those
Damien.
those
Yeah,
two those two movies. I think the 70s is something about the 70s horror movies with like even like you said Halloween and
yeah,
that was the 70s, right? Yeah, Halloween.
yeah.
And those movies, there's something about them, maybe the film they used. I don't know what it is, but they're really super scary.
Yeah, and quality directors, William Friedkin, who made so many good movies, and I can't remember. I think the guy who made The Omen also did the first Superman with Christopher Reeve. I forget that director's name, but anyway,
Damn.
yeah.
So for other horror buffs that might be watching this right now, we are getting close to Halloween. Do you have Can you give us 3 recommendations that we should watch leading up to Halloween? Like what's Nick Griffin's top
Oh
3?
dear, oh dear. Well, I mean, I have some favorites. I really like. I'll tell you an underrated one that I liked was The Boy, which is just about a doll. I think it was in the last 7, 8 years. I always liked the Descent, which is a really good kind of spelunking thing with these monsters in it. And a favorite from my childhood when I was drunk and at a drive-in movie theater with two of my buddies, when everyone else was at a party with a bunch of girls, we're at this horror movie drive-in theater, Fright Night. I liked
Oh,
it.
I love
The
Fright Night.
original Fright Night.
Yeah. Fright Night was one of the ones when I was young. And again, I was terrified. I was like a little, kind of scaredy cat of these type of movies. So to get me to watch a horror movie was a big deal to my friends. And but when I watched Fright Night and loved it and enjoyed it and got a kick out of it and everything, I was kind of proud of myself. That is a underrated to me horror flick that a lot of people like a monster movie that a lot of people I feel goes unsung.
I agree, and I feel like it's really tightly written, and there's some jokes in it, and I find it funny. I find the character of the host of the late night horror movie guy, Roddy McDowall, just a really fun, cool character who's a coward when he's supposed to be this famous leading
Right.
man, and yeah, I thought it was really cool.
I think that kind of movie might have changed the tone for vampire movies moving forward after that. I mean, I think they added or horror movies too. They added kind of comedy element to them, right? And then Lost Boys and movies like that started to happen where it
Yeah,
was
Scream, some of those other movies
Scream,
with a lot
yeah.
more jokes. Yeah, absolutely. You're right with the Lost Boys, definitely.
It was like more fun. They made vampire movies, and then
Yeah, and that's kind of my target is I like those kind of movies. I mean, I like all horror movies, but ones with a few jokes in it are just awesome.
I tell you, I'm still a wuss when it comes to horror movies, and my kids they love them, and they watch The Nun, and it's like this evil, like all the
Sure.
sacrilege. And again, I grew up Catholic too. I'm not the kind of guy who goes to church often, but I still when it's like evil nuns, it freaks me out a bit.
I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
That's cool. So, do you like when you go to these fright fests and things along those lines, are you the guy who gets dressed up and cosplay and all that stuff? How deep do you go?
No, I walk through and judge the other people. Although I still enjoy their outfits, I still quietly whisper to my girlfriend, "These people are idiots, and we are so much more dignified than them." Although we're still there and still paid the $70 to get in. So, yeah, no, I mean, I used to, and it didn't have to be horror movies, but like just like comic books and even sports or whatever people are into. It, you get older and you just go, "Right, man, that's so precious. It's so lucky to have something you can kind of just focus in on that without instead of the outside world." And certainly horror is a huge thing for me. I'm subscribed to like 4 different monster magazines that for the most part, or for much of the year, go unread just because I just like knowing they're there. I don't really get into them too much. Occasionally I'll glance at them, but I don't know. I just my brother infected me and it's not going away.
That's great. Yeah, I actually, there's a movie. I don't know if you ever heard of this movie. It's again, it's a gore movie. It's like zombies. It's called Bombshell Bloodbath.
No.
It was made, yeah, you could find it. I think it's on Amazon and stuff like that. But this is when I lived in North Carolina, and when you have a Long Island accent and you live in North Carolina, they think you're a mafia or whatever. so so they put me as a bar. I owned a strip bar. I was a strip bar owner guy, and I got devoured by zombies. So if you ever watch that, you could maybe see me in the gore movie.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, and also like watching your special earlier, cheer up, just to refresh everything with you. The opening of that, when you're kind of going through your day and all that,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, have you ever wanted to pursue acting or do a show of your own or a movie? Because I think you'd be great with your whole persona and your stage persona and all of that. Is that something that's a goal of yours?
Not anymore, but I remember early on when I did my first Letterman's company signed me to a deal, and they paired me with a writer, a really great guy named John Marcus, and we, long story short, sold Letterman's company, rather, a producer from Letterman's company, me and John Marcus sold a idea to ABC, and they paid us to write the script. And you probably know how this works. Like they commission 20 scripts and they keep 4 of them. And ours was not one they kept, but they did pay us for it. And that was cool. So that was as close as I got. In the past, I did some, I took some classes and I went out on auditions and stuff, but to go back to your original question, really, it takes so much time to be a good actor and to take classes and to go out on auditions and to be in town to do it. It's hard to have a kind of a successful stand-up road comic career that way. And so I really just stayed with the stand-up, and if it happens eventually, that'd be great. But I have no real regrets. I have so many actor friends that have worked so hard to be better actors and go out on auditions and go back for callbacks and not make it and suffer. And it didn't look like fun to me. I can always get up and for the most part, I can always get on stage somewhere and practice my craft, whereas actors don't have that benefit.
That's true, and it is a tough life, the actor's life, because like you said, it's lots of rejection, and I do think that any field in the arts, if you're trying to succeed, there's going to be rejection, but like you said, if you're comparing it to stand up, you could always get on stage and you live and die in that moment. So like if you have a bad night tomorrow or later next show, I could make up for that,
Right, absolutely.
Where in acting, you get you've been waiting all week for this one audition, and if you blow it, you don't know when you're gonna get another call. So it's.
I agree, and I try to get on stage once a night, 7 days a week, and sometimes it's more, and sometimes it's a show or two less. But obviously have friends who go years between parts, and it's just it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think too, like with you, you might be at the level now where people are gonna look for you. They want to say, I want
Yeah,
this guy, he's everything we're looking for in this particular character. He embodies it. We want, Nick Griffin for this.
that would be great. From your mouth to their ears. Yeah.
Dude, I definitely think so, man. Like for sure. I wish I was a casting agent. I would we'd
You
start
get me
developing
some work.
Yeah, we'd make it would be like we'd make it some kind of horror. There'll be a underlining of horror film in there too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we could do something, man. But we are psyched that you're coming out here tonight and tomorrow, performing for us all here. And before I let you go, I just want to ask you. I have this little thing I do called Don's Random Questions. Who is the funniest comedian of all time?
Oh, geez, for my taste, there's a million, but I'm gonna go with Levittown.
Knock, knock, I like a blowjob. But I'm pregnant, your mouth's not fucking pregnant. Now suck it.
What's the best comedy movie ever?
The one that really hits home with me at an age, Ghostbusters to me, yeah, was the movie because it combined my love of horror.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
It's perfect for you.
Not that it was scary, but it was funny.
Yeah, it had some horror in there in the beginning, especially.
Yeah, a little bit.
You ready? Ready? Get her!
Is it better to be loved or feared?
Oh my God, that is a big question for this podcast. Is it better to be? Oh, I'd rather be loved. I'm a softie.
I love you.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
I'm gonna say "Rock You Like a Hurricane" by the Scorpions. On top of being a horror fan, I was a big heavy metal fan when I was a kid, like everyone else was in the early '80s. So that's where I stand.
That's awesome. Who is the most famous person you ever met?
Boy, that's a good question. I'm gonna that I personally met with probably Nick Nolte.
It's a great honor. It really is.
I was doing stand-up at the Punchline in San Francisco probably 20 years ago, and he came out to the show, and after the show, he came into the green room to talk to Bobby Slayton, who was a really great comic and is retired now, and me, and just wanted to thank us for the show and tell us how great it was. Oh, and I also met same situation. Glenn Close came up and basically said the exact same thing that Nick Nolte did in a different club.
What am I supposed to do? You won't answer my calls. You changed your number. I mean, I'm not going to be ignored.
Was Slayton there too?
Yeah, no, he wasn't there.
And we got two more here. So these are down your alley, I think. Here, do you believe in ghosts, and have you ever had an encounter?
I thought I was really drunk one night, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I thought I heard somebody speaking in a very famous haunted hotel in Boise, Idaho, called the Idaho. There's been a 100 sightings in there, so that was the only thing that was close, but I was hammered, so who knows. Could have been my brain.
The Idaho Hotel was built in 1890 as a boarding house and was used as many different things over the years. The Idaho is currently used as apartments, and there have been numerous tenants and workers who have reported a number of weird things happening.
And what's the best Halloween costume you ever wore? You ever dressed up as?
Oh my God. Well, just to go back to my older brother, I ended up being Paul Stanley from Kiss, and my big brother was Gene Simmons, and I was probably 10 and didn't even know what the hell was going on, and he just thought I'd look cool if I did that. So I'm gonna go with that.
That's awesome, man. Nick Griffin, thank you so much. Everybody, please come out tonight and check him out here at Governor's Comedy Club. He will not disappoint. Very, very funny man here, and I appreciate you taking the time, Nick.
Thanks, Don.